Hello, welcome back to the Feel Your Feelings podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Makanjuola, and today I am joined by Kayla and Alyssa Hui. They are sisters. Kayla is based in Austin, Texas, and Alyssa is based in St. Louis, Missouri. And I'm so excited to have them on my podcast today. I actually read an article that Kayla wrote on travel and leisure, and the article is called "My Sisters and I Take an Annual Sibling Trip, and it's the best thing for our relationship." So I have a sister, right? I'm the youngest, and I have one older sister, and it reminded me to just kind of like step back and think of like, oh wait, I want to kind of do something like that for me and my sister in the future. So it's so good to have you guys on. How are you both feeling?
I'm
Good.
feeling great. We're feeling good. Excited to be here. Excited to talk about all things travel and relationships. So, how about you, Alyssa?
I'm doing well. It was a busy weekend, but I know we're recording this on a Sunday, so it's just really relaxed today. I just did grocery shopping at Trader Joe's, filled my fridge. So yeah, I'm feeling good.
That's amazing. So one thing what I like to ask my guests is what has brought you joy in the past week?
You want to go first, Alyssa?
Sure, I don't. I
Either
have
or,
two
either
things
or.
actually. I was actually just in Austin this past weekend visiting my sisters, so I'd say like that would be like the overall highlight. We got to spend a lot of time together because I didn't see my sisters since March, so it's been a few months,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of people probably don't know us, but some background: we're best friends. We're all a year apart. Went to the same college, so we have a really strong relationship with one another. And so it was hard. Kayla and Jacqueline, they've kind of moved together in a lot of cities. So they started out in New York, they lived a few years there, and then they transitioned and they moved to Austin together. And then I've kind of been the one that has jumped around. I was in spring
Yeah,
away for my job, and then I moved to St. Louis. So I'm the one that's always like apart from them. So just being able to see them again and just like bond, and I realized I'm like, wow, I laughed a lot. We talked about very serious things, but also fun things, and we did a lot of activities together. And it reminded me of like, I miss them. Like, I should move there too.
right.
But yeah, that would probably be the highlight. Just seeing my sisters again.
Absolutely. And I just want to point out that I forgot to mention your third sister named Jacqueline, who couldn't join us today for the episode. But yeah, she's another part of the story that you guys mentioned of your sisterhood traveling together. But go ahead, Kayla. I want to hear what brought you joy this week.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat what Alyssa said. That was definitely part of the joy. But I'm starting a new role on Monday, so I got all of like my equipment and technology,
Congrats.
and
Congrats.
preparing for that was really exciting because it's always nice to like take a little refresher when you have a break in routine. Like if you've been doing the same job for a while and you're like heading into something new, that's the feeling I got this week. So very pumped to be doing that.
That's amazing. And congratulations to you on your new role. That is a
Thank
big
you.
accomplishment. So congrats. So is there a favorite memory that you both have as from your travels together as siblings, and any individual memories that stand out to you?
Yeah, I would say we've traveled to a couple of countries, but I think the one that stands out to me would probably be Puerto Rico. I think that was like the first big trip that we did. And correct me if I'm wrong, Alyssa, if I'm missing any details, but I think it kind of solidified like we love traveling together and this is something that we want to continue doing. And I think that was the first trip where we were like, we should be doing this every year. And so I think that kind of solidified that and helped us bond because at that point in our life, like I think we were still in college. And we were also like on a budget and trying to travel and pursue our passions. So there was a lot going on in all of our lives, and we were kind of navigating that ebb and flow and just trying to be together, but also like how do we take our careers to the next level. So I think that was a great first starter trip.
Do you want to share about that experience flying into Puerto Rico? Because we actually flew in on New Year's, so this would have
I
been on 20.
I read about that. You guys got to see the fireworks like
Yeah.
as you were landing. That's super cool.
Yeah, and I talked a little bit about it in my travel and leisure article, but I think there's this thing, the psychological thing where you just love seeing other people happy. I remember
Yeah.
being on the plane. I think Jacqueline was in the middle row, Alyssa was on the window seat, and I was in the aisle. And the
Oh, you got the
pilot,
window seat.
yeah, the pilot had announced, he was like, Happy New Year! And like, the clock turned and everyone was opening like their shades and they were like
Yes.
looking at all the fireworks in Puerto Rico kind of like blow up as we were about to land. And everyone was just screaming and hugging each other. And it was just such a beautiful moment, not only to see those people happy, but to see my sisters happy. It definitely gives you an endorphin boost for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a fun trip. That was in 2020 in January, so we were there for a week. Um, for me, I mean, that was a very memorable experience for me as well. But I'd say traveling to Europe together last year, so it would have been around June 2022. We actually crammed in three different cities in like the span of a week. Kayla's been
Uh-huh.
to Europe before, so she's been to Paris before, but it was my first time and Jacqueline's first time as well. Um, but where did we were in London first, and then we took a bullet train or just a train to Paris, and then we went to Manchester. So we were like
Nice.
traveling a ton within a span of a week. But I think that was the most memorable travel experience for me because we kind of like we're all, I guess I know people don't like adulting, but we all had
Uh-huh.
full-time jobs, um,
Yeah.
and started our careers and such. And it was like the first trip where we're like adults, I guess. Like we're not in college anymore. We're like real adulting, basically. We're adulting. And just being able to be like mature and just the conversations we had throughout the trip, just talking about relationships to things that brought us joy, stressful events that was going on in our lives, fashion. We did some shopping together, and so we had like just. And then even when we missed our train, there was one day where we had missed our train, and Kayla was like, "It's fine, we'll be able to get on the next one." But Jacqueline was freaking out. I was freaking out. I was like, "Oh my god, we're not going to be able to get to Paris." And so just being able to like, okay, we're good, just take a breath. And we were literally in the train station, like, let's take a breath.
Yeah, like
Exhaled. And then we were just like, okay, let's just go up to this guy and see if he can help us out. And then he was like, we can help you. But it was intimidating because there was another guy who was in front of us and he was like, yeah, there's no trains until next week. And we're like, like next week? We're supposed to be in Manchester, we're supposed to be in Paris. And then we were freaking out, and then we approached the guy and he's like, okay, I can get you on the next train, but it's going to be at like 5 p.m. or something like that.
right.
Just being able to navigate all of those hurdles together and just have those serious conversations in this new stage of life when we're not in college and just kind of like, talking about, oh, what are we going to do for work and all of this. But that was
Yeah.
probably a highlight of mine.
Absolutely, because travel can really put relationships to the test.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't know how my sister and I would have reacted to that train station situation. It could have been like I don't know. I don't know what could happen.
Yeah.
So, you guys had a mature way of handling it, but every I say with my sister and I, it's like up and down, but it's kind of like that with all sisters or with all sisters. So
It's just
kudos to you guys for figuring that out.
balance each other out. Like more of
Right.
calm one. I'm more of the person that's like freaking out. Like I don't stay calm. I'm like, oh my god, like we missed our train. Like what are we gonna do?
Right.
I was like, it's fine. We'll be able to get on the next one. And she's more like
Yeah,
logical with those things. And then Jack was
that's
just kind
good.
of in the middle, like, oh, and looking for someone to blame or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a fun relationship that we have together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that balance is necessary for sure. So how has your upbringing affected your sisterhood? And you actually, I think you already talked or answered this. Alyssa, is if your travels, do your travels bring you all closer?
Yeah. Kayla, do you want to start first?
Sure. Um, I definitely think travel brings you together. So Alyssa answered that, but um, I think it's, depending on your background and how you grew up. Like in the article I had talked about, we grew up in a very tumultuous childhood. And I think it's important to be able to I mean, for a lot of people, travel is an avenue to kind of either escape that tumultuous lifestyle. So for
Right.
us, for me, especially when I went to college, I was like, I have to get out of Chicago. That's where we're from, and kind of be away and take that time to kind of refocus on like what we need to do and build a future of our own. And not associate with whatever's going on at home, because we don't know, like a lot of people have different backgrounds. And so for me and Alyssa and Jacqueline, having that space together to be able to travel and kind of build our own happiness, if you will, our own happiness path. That's how I kind of like to talk about it. But I think that's super important in terms of like carving out your own space and time
Yeah,
to rejuvenate and to spend time with those you love and kind of get away from whatever is going on at home.
absolutely.
I think for me, like in our household, travel wasn't really prioritized. We didn't really grow up in a traditional household where mommy and daddy takes you to Disney World and swim with the dolphins and things like that,
Yeah,
or like
same.
going on road trips. Like that wasn't a thing in our household, right? Like I don't even remember a single trip that we took with our mom that wasn't in Chicago, right? Like we were born and raised in Chicago, so we never, at least for me, like maybe Canada, but that was like one time when we were 4. So, and even with our grandma, like who is a huge role model in all 3 of our lives, because she was primarily our caretaker when we were growing up, because our mom and dad were divorced when we were really young. Um,
Okay.
so we kind of had an absent father in our life, so we didn't really have that traditional travel like I was mentioning earlier. And so being able to break out of that, like Kayla was saying, when we got to college and just explore the world, we're like, wow, we can build our relationships, see the world, experience new cultures, food, traditions, learn about other people, build relationships with other people in these local communities. And just, that in itself is beautiful. And I think going back to like the childhood aspect, I remember actually, you know how in high school they offer these trips that you can go on and you're like living with a host family and all that. I remember I was so
Yeah.
scared because I was like, oh, I really want to go on this trip and I want to ask my grandma if I can go on it. And I legit made a PowerPoint presentation and put it all together and say, Grandma, look, I want to go on this trip. Here are the pros and cons, how much it's going to cost, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well,
Where did you want to go at the time?
it was somewhere, I can't even remember because it was in high school, but I believe it was maybe like Spain.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
through a third party, like learning center international or something like that. I can't remember the name, but they
Yeah.
offered those programs for high schoolers, and I was like, oh, like I want to go. And I presented it to her, and she was like, you can't go. Like, no, it's not safe.
No, no. Yeah.
Traveling alone or traveling with a third party program or whatever, and she didn't know who was going on the trip, she was like, no. And so I was like, oh. But then when Kayla went to college, because we all went to the same college, we went to UW Madison in Wisconsin,
Okay.
and she did a ton of travel in her undergrad, and I was like, oh, I want to do that too. So I actually followed in her footsteps, and I think Jacqueline did the same, where we're like, let's take advantage of all these study abroad programs, volunteer trips, let's just go on them. And so I went on a ton of trips. Kayla went on more than I did, and she can talk a little bit about that. But after that, I was just kind of like, yeah, let's do this together and let's see the world together. And Kayla always talks about it all of the time. She's like, oh, we need to plan our next trip, or when are we going on our next trip? And it's just hard to
Yeah.
do that now that we're all in our own, like starting our own families or just building our own relationships with our loved ones. And um, yeah, it's just hard to plan a trip when everyone has their own work schedule too. So, but yeah, I think definitely to answer your question, like traveling together and like our childhood, like that all kind of came together where we're like, okay, let's just travel together as sisters, and if no one else in our family is gonna do it, we can do it. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And our parents have such a major influence on us to decide whether or not, like for like what you said, I didn't really get a chance to travel to like Disney World or all those dream places that I had as a kid. We did move around a lot when I was growing up. So I'm from Texas and we moved to Colorado for my dad's job. I think relocated him up there. So we moved there. We were there for 7 years and we came back to Texas.
Hi there, how are you feeling? It's me, Victoria, host of the podcast. And when I first started podcasting, I was super scared and nervous about the way I sounded, the way I looked, the way people would receive me. But using Zencastr has been a really helpful way for me to become more confident and express myself as a creator. So with Zencastr, you can record up to 4K quality in video, regardless of your audio and Wi-Fi quality. You can save files in the cloud recording, and you can adjust your audio and noise levels in the sound section. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code Victoria15, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences that I do for my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. You feel me?
So I guess I moved with them, but like on my own, that's something that, I still dream of doing. Is going to. My sister went to France for when she was in college, so that really like inspired me too. I'm like, okay, I want to travel too. Yeah. So like next year, I'm really trying to make it happen.
Yes, you definitely can.
Speaking of that, what would you say is the best time of year to plan for a family vacation? It could be family vacation, like study abroad, what's the best? What's the best time?
I think it's going to depend on when everybody's available. I know a lot of people lean on the holidays, but I think that's the worst time to travel with family, like Christmas. You all saw the Southwest situation going on with the luggages and not being able to make it on time. And I remember even in the summer too, like the peak summertime, there was a man who I was standing next to because our flight was delayed. And he was like, I really hope I get on this flight because I'm trying to make it to my sister's wedding tomorrow. And I just really felt for him. So I would never want anyone to like miss travel opportunities or get that big family vacation they've been saving up. So I always say go during the off season, which is the fall time, early fall, like September, October, and also November for, obviously Thanksgiving, not domestically, but if you travel internationally, some countries don't celebrate Thanksgiving. So that's the perfect opportunity to take advantage of the less touristy season. And then during the spring, depending on the country, because I know, for example, Japan is super packed during March and April, but other countries during that time of year, it's like the perfect time to travel because people are just waiting to go during the summer when their kids are off or when they accumulate enough PTO. So it really depends, but I would say off season, fall and spring for sure.
Okay. That's good to know. I'm like taking mental notes at the moment. So who are some of you guys' favorite famous sisters? So it's a 3-part question, right? So first part is, who are some of your favorite sisters? Second part is, do you have any favorite travel destinations or like maybe some of the best travel destinations suggestions? And then the third part is bonding activities. I'm really curious to know like what activities you guys do while you're on trips together.
Best travel destinations that we've been to or want to go to.
I think the want to go to. Want to go to. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I don't have any favorite like sister travel people that I really look up to. Like I'm not on YouTube like that or Instagram to be like, oh, I follow these sisters. And
right. Yeah.
We just kind of have our relationship and go with the flow. So I can't answer that one. But your second part of that question, best place to visit with my sisters, Tokyo, Japan. Yeah.
Have you guys been to Tokyo, Japan? Or you want to? Okay. Nice. What about you, Kayla?
Oof. Favorite travel sisters, us.
I think with the sisters, I think for me, I was thinking of like Chloe, Halle, like Bella Hadid, Gigi,
gotcha.
like that. I don't,
but do they travel together though? They seem like they live such separate lifestyles.
Yeah, true. Like for work, like we don't know the behind the scenes of how everything works, but yeah.
Best travel destination, since Alyssa answered the where do we want to go, I think the favorite that we've been to was probably Paris. It's like a good mix of, I know they have a whole bed bug situation going on right now, so I think it's like a good blend of like culture, food, community, and it kind of speaks to our interests as like people who like to go shopping, who love art, who love architecture, walking as well. It's a very walk friendly place, and I know a lot of TikTokers were saying like I ate like 3 bowls of pasta and did not feel bloated at all. That's how we felt. Like we were eating a lot, like eating a good amount, and then just walking the rest of the time. So it was a good balance, getting in your exercise, but also like I want to enjoy.
Yeah.
So I would say Paris for sure, the best place that we've been to so far together. And then bonding. Oh,
So
sorry.
yeah,
Go
ahead.
One note about that walking bloating thing. It's so true. Like we're all very active sisters. Like we lift, we walk, we run, we hike. And we didn't do any of that type of activity in Paris when we were in Europe. But because we walked
Yeah.
a lot, like I never felt bloated. And we would eat big meals and then we'd walk, and then I'm like, oh wow, I felt really good, or I feel really good. And so and I don't know if it's like the ingredients that they use compared to like the ingredients that we.
I was thinking, like, is Paris a walkable city? Because some cities are very walkable where you don't really have to like navigate too hard, like with driving and whatnot. Like, was everything in good distance
For the
walking?
most part, yeah. And then we also did a lot of like taxi service. And then when my friend visited as well later, my best friend, they did like they call it the tube, right? Is it called the tube there?
Or that
The
I
train.
think that's in London. The tube.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
in
she
London.
was there too,
Yeah.
and she took like their train system, and she said it was fine. But it was also bad because it was during like the strike. So, but I just wanted to add that one little note about like food and walking and floating.
Yeah. So bonding activities, like what all did you do?
Oh, so Jacqueline unfortunately wasn't here for this trip, but we were able to go to Curacao through my work. Because as a travel writer, I get to travel to a lot of different destinations, and Curacao being one of them. And there was a cooking class, and there were other people there, of course, but me and Alyssa were focused on their ceviche dish. We were tasked with creating it for the whole group. And I feel like cooking classes are such a great bonding activity for siblings because it really just does test your skills and communication. Like we had this poisonous fish. Was it the tiger shark or tigerfish?
Tigerfish, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a tigerfish. So the spikes are actually poisonous. So we had to like cut off the spikes, and they kind of showed us how to cut the fish, but me and Alyssa were kind of looking at each other like, do you know how to do it? Like after they explained it, and we were just like, okay, you try. And then I pass it back to Alyssa like, okay, I'm having trouble. And I think one of us had our nails done too, so it kind of made it all. Yeah, I had my acrylics on, so it made it like 20 times harder to like cut the fish, but. Yeah. I think it creates like a good bonding activity because you're communicating. You're like if I can't do something, I'm leaning on Alyssa's skills to be able to like prep the fish or do like what we have to do to prepare a good ceviche because it's everybody's tasting it, So I think that's one of the better activities. And then I would say hiking too. It really does test you physically and mentally. I remember during our trip to Utah, we were hiking, and Alyssa is like a little Speedy Gonzalez. Her and her partner like to just like go for it, and I'm just like more of a slug. I'm more slow poke like, so I'm just like going up and I'm like huffing and puffing because out of the three of us, I'm the least physically fit. I'm fit, but I'm not like up to her like level yet. So I was just like, whoo, like really just getting up the hill, just like sweating, like slow down, girl. Like I'm still trying to make it up there, but I think you communicate like, hey, I'm not going as fast. Can we slow it down? I want to be together. So definitely test your communication skills and bonding. Yeah. How about you, Alyssa?
You stole my answer. I was gonna say hiking.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. You're good. Yeah, because we were in Utah. What year was that? 2021?
I think so.
Yeah, it was like a year after Puerto Rico or something. We went to Utah with the three of us, but also like our partners. And like Kayla was saying, it was just really fun because we hit several national parks like Canyonlands, Bryce. We did Zion. So it was just like a fun experience because Kayla was towards the end, I'm like, oh, I gotta get this. Like, I'm gonna do these switchbacks and go up and back and forth. And Jacqueline's more in the middle, where she's like, I'm not as fast, Alyssa. I'm not as, at Kayla's pace, so she was going her own pace, so she's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
But I love outdoor activities, so anything outdoors I love doing with my sisters, just like walking, hiking. I think Jacqueline would probably say, what do you think she would say? Like maybe shopping or something?
Yeah.
She's more like into the fashion, like like bags,
beauty.
I love that.
But yeah, I mean, like, to also like broaden out the question a little bit, I feel like in terms of recommending activities for other people who are listening, siblings, it kind of just depends on your guys' personalities and like what you all enjoy. Like if you guys love outdoor things, then yeah, hiking, skiing, like those types of things you might want to consider. But if you're more like indoorsy and you want to like just travel, we love thrifting too.
Me,
Yeah,
I'm
we
the
did a
indoors. I'm
ton
the
of
indoorsy.
thrifting when we were in Europe, and that was such a fun experience as well. So like if you want to do that, Kayla loves food. So she was like, we're going to try this restaurant. We're going to get this tea. We're going to eat here, try this dessert place, get these macarons. Like, she was very all for it.
Like planner
Yeah,
vibes. Planner vibes from
on like
Kayla.
what your siblings enjoy, and then just being able to communicate like what should we do, and then planning ahead of time and being like, let's for sure hit this, let's do this, and then let's keep it open to kind of like just explore and see what we see.
Absolutely. That's incredible. For me, I'm thinking of like how me and my sister would like, who would be the planner? Like who would it be organized? Would we know what places we want to go? For me, I like to know like what I'm going, where I'm doing, where I'm staying. But as far as like me planning that out, like I would prefer someone else to do it, But I think like what you just said, like taking everyone's preferences into consideration and like making sure everyone gets to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So while I was reading your article, Kayla, I was really just thinking of like, wow, this is like amazing and like really like idealistic for like a trip for siblings. However, I have to like think about money. Like for the Brook girls, could you give us any tips on how to save up for an annual sibling trip?
Yeah. I want to preface this by saying a lot of the travel that we did in our early years were during college. So we were the broke college students. And I think it was like all of us were working at some point 2 or even 3 jobs just to like save up to afford our groceries and our rent, but also to afford like leisure activities like travel. But for people in college, I will start off by saying study abroad programs are probably, I think, some of the most underutilized resources on your campus. So if you are a college girly listening to this, definitely check out what scholarships are available. And even if you're like, and be open-minded about it too, because for example, Europe, there might not be a lot of scholarships for Europe, but if there's like a 3,000 scholarship to go to Southeast Asia, definitely apply and be open-minded to the destination. And so definitely utilize those resources. And if you are, the adult, you're in your adult stages, got your big girl job, I would say setting a budget first with your siblings, being like, what can we realistically afford? When people think of travel, they think of international destinations, but the U.S. has some of the most, vast landscapes, small cities. Like it doesn't have to be super expensive. And I think that's one of the stigmas that come with travel. Like, oh, it's got to be, 5-star hotels and, Michelin star dinners. Definitely doesn't have to be like that. So definitely setting a budget, coming to a consensus. Okay, we can spend 2,000 on this trip, 3,000, and then picking the destination based off your budget. Some destinations like Paris, for example, are notoriously expensive compared to like, I don't know, Southeast Asia, like Thailand, where, some things can be expensive there, but, the majority of it, most of it is affordable, like food. So kind of determining those two things. And then once you have those nailed down, you can start putting money away and picking out like where you want to go eat. And you can either choose like a hostel or Airbnb to kind of save on cost. So there's a lot of different ways to like budget your money and then using time to like save up for those big excursions. And then like Alyssa had mentioned before, what do you, like your siblings, what do you all value? What do you all want to see? For me, it's food. So I'm willing to drop money on food versus like Jacqueline, she's more of the shopping type. So like for her, she'll be like, yeah, I'm definitely going to save up a little extra so I can buy those cute pair of shoes or like that purse that I've been wanting. And then for Alyssa, she's like going with the flow, and I think more into experiences and outdoor, like how can we leverage that. So again, I would say, definitely consider your siblings in mind, like their interests, and then kind of tailoring your budget based on that.
That's good.
Hopefully that was
That's
helpful.
good.
I said a lot, so I apologize.
Yeah, no, that was very helpful. Alyssa, did you have any more recommendations?
I think she covered most of it. Just setting a budget first and saying like, oh, how much do we have, or how much do we need to save for? And once you set a budget, I think a good tip to do is, how like every Christmas, birthday, holiday or whatever it is, whatever you celebrate in your own culture and within your own family, a lot of people are like gifting things. And I think instead of doing that, like, let me buy you a new pair of shoes, or like this cute set from this brand or whatever, or a watch, whatever the gift may be, maybe say, instead of doing that, why don't we just save money and use that money to going on a trip together? So once you set a budget, you can say, mutually agree, instead of doing gifts, why don't we
smarter, not harder,
money? A trip together in itself would be a gift, right? But that's the only other thing I would add to what Kayla said.
That's both really good advice and suggestions. I think even local trips, because like being here in Dallas and North Texas, like there are things that my sister and I can do like in our own area, in our own backyard, without having to like travel out of state or anything. And budgeting, I think budgeting is the biggest thing. And money sometimes, well, I know can get in the way of siblings relationships. So I think also making sure everyone is comfortable with like, hey, like this is how much money is going to cost to go here or to eat at this place, to eat like, and to make sure like no one's feelings are getting hurt. Because it's like, oh, I had to spend like $80 on this meal, and like now I don't really have enough to go like shopping right now or do this, making sure we're considerate of each other's feelings. So I think
I wanted to add
go ahead.
You had said two things actually. A tip is when you said like traveling in your own city or state or within the boundaries of that, like definitely take advantage of that, because for me, like I live in St. Louis, and when people hear about St. Louis, they may think, oh, what's there to do in St. Louis? But there's a lot of greenery.
No offense to St. Louis now.
I love St. Louis. That's why I live here, right? But
right.
like a lot of people don't know, there's a lot of greenery here. And we were just in St. Genevieve a few weekends ago, and me and my fiance, and we were in St. Genevieve for the weekend, and we just did hiking and tried out local restaurants and
cool.
That was such a fun experience, and that
it
costs a little bit, but not as much as buying a plane ticket and then running a Airbnb and this and that. So I think a lot of people should take advantage of literally what is in your backyard. And then the second thing I wanted to add, when you had talked about like money getting in the way for certain families and siblings, Kayla and Jacqueline actually went on a trip to Dubai last year, and that was like way out of
my dream destination right there.
Yes, beautiful.
So they went, and they're like, Alyssa, you should go. And I was just like, okay, well, how much is the plane ticket, and like how much is the hotel gonna be, and this and that, and it was just like out of budget for me, and so I opted not to go. So it's just kind of like you kind of have to decide with your siblings, what is within your budget. And if you can't go, like, I missed out on it. And Kayla and Jacqueline talk about that trip all the time. Like, oh, we got this, we ate this food, we ate like at this restaurant where you were like in the sky or something like that. And I was like, oh, that looks so cool. And I didn't experience that, and they were FaceTiming me and like, look at the restaurant, look how cool it is. And I'm like, I missed out. Sometimes you just have to, do what's best for you and your finances. And that's something I had to like miss out on, but it's okay.
It is okay. It is okay. And if it's meant to happen, it'll happen,
Right.
I'm going to make sure like the energy is right. Like for me, I'm like the vibes have to be right before we even step out. Like we gotta be on the same energetic level. So when are you guys planning your next trip together?
Probably for next year. We're going to be saving up some money to probably do something in Japan. That's a destination where we're like, we want to go. There's food, shopping, all of it, tourist attractions as well. And it's got a lot of rich history and culture. So we're excited to plan something for that next year, but more to come on that.
We also,
Absolutely.
yeah, we just never have been to Asia together. Like, it's funny because we all did separate individual travel to parts of Asia on our own. Like, Kayla was in Thailand a few years ago, Jacqueline was in Beijing, I was in
Okay.
Shanghai when I was in college. So we all kind of like took our own individual time there, but never together. And we've always wanted to do something in Asia. Like, I remember when we were in, like, was it high school, Kayla? I don't remember, but we were supposed to go to Hong Kong
Yep.
with my grandma. So the three of us and my grandma. And I don't know why we didn't end up going. I think my grandma was like, let's not do it. Let's just wait. Right. Like, always that waiting. And we
Yeah.
never did it. Right. And we still never did it. So I was like, we need to do something where we can hit Asia together. So hopefully that'll be next year. And it's sad because we didn't really do like a sister trip per se this year. I mean, Texas, but that's also because Kayla and Jacqueline were moving
Yeah.
a lot.
They,
And
they live in Texas. You're in Missouri.
yeah, so we didn't really plan a trip this year per se, just because I think Kayla and Jacqueline, they just had a lot of moving parts in their schedule, that kind of
Gotcha.
prevented us from doing that. And that's something I think people should realize. Like, yeah, for us, it's like a yearly thing where like every year we're going somewhere, but unfortunately this year we didn't. It couldn't happen, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We still got time together, and I visited them, so we still had that sister trip.
There
So
you go.
yeah.
There you go. Yeah, my dad is from Nigeria actually. He got to visit for like a month, like half, maybe like a few weeks, in from like July to August. But I didn't get to go with him. But like he says, next year, like we'll plan a trip together. We can all go. So it's all in next year. We'll see. But that is also a dream family trip to go on as well.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that's another
Go ahead.
thing that just came up. Take advantage of like where your relatives or friends are. Like, if you have friends that are in China, in Europe, wherever they're located, or even family, come
Yeah.
up and say like, hey, any chance you'll be around this date? Any way I can stay with you for a few days, and then you'll save
Absolutely.
money on housing.
Absolutely. And I have a cousin who's in Canada.
Mhm.
And yeah, and like she found me on like social media like in 2019. I was still in like undergrad or whatnot. And then my dad had visited them and their family, and so we just connected on social media. And she came for my graduation in Texas, but ever since then, I've been trying to like link up and be like, anytime I'm in Canada, I'm gonna see you in Canada and whatnot. So we have like Zoom calls and everything. So I'm really trying to make it happen
Yes.
in 2024.
You got to be like, hey, cuz.
Literally. And our birthdays are kind of around the same time too.
Got a
So
couch that I can sleep on.
exactly. She has her own spot too. So
Exactly.
oh,
Yes.
yes, I'm gonna hit you up. So could you both share any personal mantras or affirmations that help you stay grounded and positive? I'm really into affirmations, so like saying I am, like I am great, I am magic, I am empowered. Like, what sort of like mantras do you guys kind of live by?
I'm more of a poetry type person, so I actually have the book that I love. I feel like a lot of it is romance, but a good part of it is like life things. So if it's okay, I'd love to read one of my favorites from this poetry book.
Absolutely. Well, there's a speed round question that has to do with that, so I'm gonna have you hold it until the speed round.
Okay.
That's all right. But love that. I absolutely love to have the book with
Well,
you.
didn't you have two, Kayla, that you could share? You could share one now, and then for
Sure.
yeah, because you had two that you were thinking of.
Sure. Well, for the speed round, is it? I just want to make sure I'm sharing the appropriate one because I have two.
Oh, you have two. Okay, so the speed round question is my favorite book is. It's like what your favorite book is.
Okay, great. I'll do this one then.
Okay.
A mantra.
Okay.
So it doesn't have a title to this poem, but the book is called Saltwater by Brianna West, and it starts off, there is something you can learn from everyone. Anything you can learn, any book you can read, or any song you can hear first came from the mind of another human being. And once you realize that all we ever really learn, receive, and experience comes from other human minds and hearts, you will never feel greater or less than another. You will acknowledge that everyone has a different medicine, and our job is to find it and then share it with the world. And I think this is such a beautiful representation of, everybody's kind of on their own path and journey, but it also speaks to the interconnectedness of like how interconnected we all are. Like I may be good at photography and eating, and Alyssa might be good at another skill, but we can like come together and share those resources and also like use what we're good at to heal other people or bring other people happiness. So that's one of like my favorite mantra poems, or whatever you'd
Absolutely.
like to call it.
And who was that by again?
Brianna West, in
Brianna
her
West.
book Saltwater.
Okay, nice.
Yes.
I love that cover too.
No, very
It's
nice.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Mine is a song.
Ooh.
J. Cole. You probably know this one. It's Love Yours. Do you know that one? Maybe not. I don't know.
I think I know. But I don't know the lyrics. I think I've heard the title, but I don't think I've heard the lyrics.
Yeah. So essentially, the song is about just loving what you have and loving yourself. One line, and I wrote it down. It says, and he kind of has abbreviations to it, but basically he says, "But you ain't never gonna be happy till you love yours." And I think in a world where social media is becoming more prevalent in our daily lives, and I think a lot of people use social media, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. People are constantly on it and looking at other people's lives. And I know that Instagram has this, and maybe even TikTok, where you just people post things that's like the best version or the best picture, and you're always constantly seeing that. And for me too, it's hard not to compare your life to people and being like, oh, well, she got to do this or he got to do that, and just kind of being like, well, I didn't. And then that makes you feel really bad about yourself. And and it's funny because there's this whole thing about how young kids who are on social media now, how their mental health is like at an all-time low compared to like other generations. And even as adults with fully developed brains, we're still feeling the impacts of social media. So I can't imagine younger children who are using these apps and how they're feeling. So I think that song just really resonates with me. Like when I'm going through tough times or when I'm feeling depressed or sad, I just kind of tell myself like, okay, it's okay, Alyssa, like love what you have, love what's in front of you, and everything will be okay. You know what I mean? And I think the song is just so meaningful too, because he says, as a singer, rapper, right, you're constantly surrounded by other people who are bigger name, bigger bags than you, more expensive jewelry or whatever it is. But even if they have all of that, you're not going to be happy till you love what you have and love all of you.
That's
and
right.
Sometimes when I'm sad, I tell Kayla, because we FaceTime like daily almost.
Or 3 times a day.
Yeah, like a lot. She's always, if I'm sad, she's like, Alyssa, listen to this song. Remember, love yours, And I'm like, oh, you're right. So I love that song. Yeah.
That segues perfectly into the speed round. So if you guys are ready, y'all ready for the speed round?
Yes, I'm ready.
So you can answer in just like 1 or 2 sentences or 1 word answers. Right. So what is the last song that you both listened to?
Oh my God, probably Snooze by SZA. I'm constantly listening to it.
Okay.
Love SZA.
My sister she likes her new album too.
I listened to SZA this morning, and I think it's called Seek, right? It's in her Love Language album. Am I like, let me see, hold on. No, it's Love Language by SZA. Okay. Yeah.
I'm like a selective listener, so like there's like 1 or 2 songs I'll be like, oh wait, that song. But it's cool. You both are on the SZA vibe. I like that. Mm-hmm. Finish this sentence. I truly believe that.
I truly believe that God put us here for a reason, and we are all destined for greatness in whatever capacity that means.
That's real. Love that.
I truly believe that things will work out the way it's supposed to, and you just have to trust God's plan.
Absolutely. I love Romans 8:28. That's probably one of my favorite Bible verses. My favorite book is...
Crying in H Mart.
I knew you were going to say that one.
Yeah. That's a book. That's a book's name? What?
Yeah, Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner.
Okay, yeah. I have to check that one out.
So
What about
basically, just a quick background story
yeah?
to it. It's basically her. It's about a story of grief and H Mart, which if you don't know what H Mart is, it's basically like a Korean Asian grocery store, but
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah,
carry a
yeah.
lot of different cultural foods as
The
well.
pattern, the
And
pattern.
it's about dealing with her mother's loss to cancer, and what that community and identity piece and food, how that all the interplay of all of those things. It's a beautiful story, so definitely read it if you get the chance.
That's
Bet
like a
there was a.
hard question for me because
Go
there's so
ahead.
many books out there, but the one that comes to mind is called The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz, and I'll just show you the cover of what that looks like because I
I
saved these from that.
love his books.
Yeah, right? It's so good.
Yeah,
I'm going to just share one quote. It's on page 153. It says, "You are what you believe you are. There is nothing to do except to be just what you are. You have the right to feel beautiful and enjoy it. You can honor your body and accept it as it is. You don't need anyone to love you. Love comes from the inside."
I absolutely love that. I love Don Miguel Ruiz. I've read the Four Agreements, and I actually won like a little book contest where he signed copies of the book for the 25th anniversary. So I have the copy here. So
Yes.
that one, The Mastery of Love, I haven't read that one, but that one is definitely going up on my list.
Recommend
And
that
like,
one for sure.
yeah. And then to your point, Kayla, there's actually an H Mart like in my local area, and I remember my mom and I went last Thanksgiving because we ran out of there was no chicken anywhere. So I'm like, let's go to H Mart. So we found some like chicken legs at the H Mart. So random, but yeah.
Love that.
Okay, we have two more of these. So in 2 words, I would tell my younger self to.
Slow down.
Mm,
I
Dang,
just think
girl.
we
powerful.
are in like I don't even know, just such a fast-paced society, especially America, where it's just like grind, grind, grind. And I think there's beauty in a slow lifestyle, like taking your time to wake up, taking your time to eat breakfast, not scarfing down your lunch, taking time to actually communicate with the people around you and not be on your phone and just scroll like quick 3-second videos. Like, we don't need all of that. We need a very slow, calm lifestyle. And I think when you find calmness in, your life, you'll find stillness within you. So I think there's beauty in the slow lifestyle.
I
That's a
think
word.
yeah, that was great. Be present. I meditate daily, and I just started not just started meditating. I started meditating the start of last year, so in January. And I think with everyone having their phones all the time, it's just taking you out of the moment. And I get kind of trapped in this as well. Like when you're out with friends, you're like, "Oh, girl, let me take a picture of you," or like, "Let me get a food." And I love taking
Okay.
pictures so you remember it. But also
Yeah,
because of that, you're not like present in the moment. And I think my younger self, like I was more into that too, like, oh, just trying to capture everything on camera or not really being there in those conversations, being present in the moment. So just, I think, be present, be in that
that's
moment.
good. That's good. I hate to like keep segueing off into like my own personal notes, but I keep thinking of things like I was thinking of like the Beyonce's Renaissance concert, how I was basically able to watch the whole thing on social media without buying a ticket, So a part of me is wondering like, did people really get a chance to be present during their concert experience, while they were there physically, but they were recording, so did they have a chance to like actually experience the moment, but I love it because I get to like watch it on YouTube for free.
Right.
Thank you. And last question is, right now I feel
Ooh. Mm.
Radical.
radical.
Yeah. I love
Radical.
it.
I didn't expect that. Did not expect that.
I know. I usually
Which protest you about to go to, Kayla? Like,
I think I love that word because I feel like radical is just something like out of the for me it symbolizes like out of the ordinary, doing things that are not in the status quo, kind of going against the grain. And I think in order to make meaningful change in your life, which is
Go
where
ahead.
I'm at in my life or in this stage of life, just going against the grain of what everybody's telling you to do. Like you don't have to follow like everyone's getting, at my age, everyone's getting married or having babies or,
Go ahead.
like doing something. Like you don't have to do that. There are people who are traveling the world, who are starting businesses, who are, really creating something for themselves. And I feel like it doesn't matter like where you are in your life, just do you and do what speaks to you and be radical.
Man,
I'm feeling radical.
wow.
Oh my God. My word is not that at all or related to that at all. It's behind. Um,
What is it?
behind. You said
Behind.
one word, right?
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't have to be a word or a feeling. A feeling. A feeling.
Yeah, I think my word is like how I feel right now is
Yeah.
behind. Like, and why that is because I have just like a lot of things going on in my life right now. Um, from just work to wedding planning to just a lot of things that's going on. And so because all of the tasks are kind of like piling up and I'm looking at everything I have to do this week and I'm like, woo, it's a lot of stuff that I need to do. I just feel behind. Like that's just the first word
Yeah.
that came to mind when you'd asked.
Yeah. And that's real. Usually your first thought is like the right thought of something.
Yeah.
Like yesterday. So yesterday, for instance, I was kind of feeling, I don't know what I was feeling. You have some of those days where you're just like, I don't exactly know how I'm feeling. Am I irritated? Am I like frustrated? Am I sad? Like, so I was kind of pondering on like, how am I feeling? And like the word that kind of stuck to me was lonely. And I was surprised because I'm an introvert and like I don't feel lonely. Like I enjoy being alone, actually. Like if you leave me by myself in my room or someplace, I can manage. Like with a book, I'm good. But I just felt that for some reason. And like for me, it didn't feel bad. I think most people assume like, oh well, that's negative, that's bad. Like that's just how I felt. Like,
Yeah.
and that's okay. So yeah, I'm still working through it. But yeah, and I know I'm not the only person that feels like that. It's like you said, Alyssa, social media is like a big illusion. And it makes us think that people are moving faster than getting married, having kids, than what's actually like going on. So I can't say like, oh, I want to be like this person because I don't know what they're dealing with or if I can handle it. So yeah,
It's a different reality. We're just virtual reality in a sense.
exactly. So
Yeah.
we're feeling our feelings right now. So
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
That was a good question, actually.
Yeah. I know she's not here right now, but if you were to like, if Jacqueline was here, if she were to answer that question, how do you think she would respond?
Kayla, you go, and I'm gonna text her and see what she's actually.
Okay.
I love that.
It's I am, and then 2 words.
Oh, you mean the last question?
Yeah.
Right now, I feel.
Okay. Right now, I feel.
Okay.
I think she might say like stressed or overwhelmed because she's also in a period of transition in her life, where she's like, moving out of a job, moving into a different career path. So sometimes that can feel very overwhelming or stressful. But then she might also say like, I am feeling where I'm supposed to be, like that this, she's in alignment with where she's supposed to be now in this period of her life. But hopefully she responds back so we can have her real answer.
Well, I texted her and she didn't, but I think she might also say like right now I feel things are gonna work out.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
she's on her own journey right now and like trying to be her own boss and
Yeah.
support that and I'm not gonna share too much of
Yeah.
the story just because I don't know what she would like me to say publicly, but just being able to work on herself and that things are going to work out for her. And I know she's had a few bumps in the road with career and such, but she's gonna be up there. So
Absolutely. 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 So, thank you guys so much for joining me on the podcast. I really appreciate you guys coming on, and thank you for your article, Kayla. And I can't wait to keep up with all of your travel adventures in the future. So, where can my listeners find you guys?
Oh, good. That's a good question. I'm on Instagram, This Chinese Girl Can Eat, because I love food. And yeah, follow me if you want to know what I'm eating.
Bet.
I used to use Twitter a lot. So it's Alyssa, ALYSSAHUITV. I'm not really on Twitter as much anymore, but I use Instagram only. And my handle is AHUI3.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'll tag it all below. So definitely keep me posted. Let me start that over. I'm like tongue twisted right now. So I'm going to post all of that in the description. But thank you guys for watching. And don't forget to be a kind person today. You feel me? Bye.
Bye.